Hi there, welcome to Waje's channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you how I made this danshiki or kaftan bubu dress with fringe and then a V shape in front. So I'm making use of the following materials: my matching threads, my African prints fabric, Ankara fabric. I'll be using less than 2.5 yards for this, depending on the hip measurement though, and the shoulder measurement. So this is the Mikado silk I got. I'll be using this as well. I got 1 yard, but I'll not be using up to 1 yard for this design. And of course, my fringe. So half yard for this design will just be fine. Okay. And then you are free to use any other fabric aside the Mikado silk. So the first thing I'll be doing is to fold my fabric into 4 sideways. I'll be using this yellow fabric to show you what I just did. Okay. So the first thing you're doing is to fold it sideways this way into 2, then you fold it again, okay, using your shoulder or sleeve measurement as the determinant. So that is into 4, okay, and then that folded edge will be your center, okay, the center. So like I said, you'll be using your shoulder to sleeve measurement, yes, to determine the wideness of this kaftan. So I'll mark my 3 inches because I want to create my shoulder slope, and then I'll be using a wideness of 17 inches. Then I'll go down by 2 inches to create my shoulder slope and slant that line down to my 3 inches like you see me do. Now the next thing I'll be doing is to measure my round sleeve, the opening I want around my sleeve area. You can use 10, you can use 11, but increase it by half an inch or 1 for joining or your seam allowance. Okay, now from that point I would start marking my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 4 inches or 5 inches depending on how wide you want this kaftan or danshiki to look. So I used 5 here. That is, if your hip is 44 divided by 4, 11 plus 5, then you have 16. Then go down to mark the length of the danshiki you want, and then increase it by 2 inches or add about 2 inches seam allowance. Then connect the lines like so. Now when you get to this place, first connect the lines like this, and then to reduce bulginess at that armhole area, just go in by 1 inch and then slant that line back to your shoulder slope. Okay, it just makes it more comfortable when you wear it. Now on that line, I'm coming down by 2 inches to create a curve. You can use your curve ruler, you can use your free hand to make this curve. Okay, now the next thing we go on to do before we cut out is to mark our pocket points, because I'll be adding inseam pocket, that's the inner pocket. So I'll come down by 4 inches and then come down from that max 4 inches by 7 inches. Then for the neckline, I'll be using 3.5 inches by the depth of 2 inches and just make a freehand curve. Then for the front neckline, I'll go down by about 9 inches. Now that 9 inches, I'll come in by 1 inch. Then I'll connect that 1 inch upwards to my neckline of the back neckline rather, and then like this. Sorry, I didn't know that it was not visible, so I'll just go on to explain what I just said earlier. For the back neckline, I came up by 3.5 inches and a depth of 2 inches. Then for the front neckline, I came down by 9 inches, came inwards by 1 inch, and then use my ruler to connect it to just make this V like you see. So it's time to cut. I'll go on to cut out my back pattern or my back fabric first, and then after cutting out, I will notch the pocket points before removing the back side of this dress. And because the front pattern and the back pattern, that is the wrong and right side of this fabric, is alike, I'll go on to chalk the wrong side so that it's easy for me to note. I usually chalk the lower part so that when I'm hemming, I hem it as well if you're not using a good chalk for this. So then I'll cut out my front neckline like so, and after cutting out the neckline, this is what it looks like. So I'll just turn this over so that we can see what this looks like. Yes, so pretty. So the next thing we'll be doing is to cut out the design you want to place on this kaftan. Okay, so you can use the wideness and the length or the height that you want. I am cutting out 14 inches now. I hope you can see the chalk because I just want to cut out this rectangular shape. You can try to make yours any shape of your choice. I'm cutting out 14 inches by about 11 and a half inches. I'm going to square it out, okay, and I'm cutting out just one piece. Okay, so after doing this, I want to cut out a long stripe. So here I'll be folding the long fabric into two. You can decide to fold it into four so it's easy to cut out. I'm just trimming out the edges. Okay, so I'm going to measure about 4.5 inches or 4 inches depending on the wideness you want. Okay, because you're going to fold it into two, and we are going to be using these stripes to tape around the sleeve area of our fabric. When we go into sewing, you see what I'm talking about. Now after cutting out this long stripe, you go on and iron it out into two like so. Okay, now this is the front fabric. I'll go on to show you what it should look like when we are done. So we'll be placing this rectangular shaped piece on that lower part of the V, and then we'll be using that other one to just tape around the neckline. So our pockets will be cutting our pocket once by getting a fabric and folding it into two like you see me do, and cut a height of 12 inches and a wideness of 8 inches. You can reduce the height to 11 or 10 depending on how deep you want your pocket to be. Now I'm just ruling this out so that you can see the lines that I have marked. So here I'm using the wideness of 8 inches and a depth of 12 inches. Then I'll go down from the lower part by 2 inches or 2.5 inches, and then I'll make this curve like you see me do, and that is all for our pocket. I'll just cut this out and then open up the lower part so that I have my two piece for both sides of the pocket. Okay, now having done this, the first thing we'll go on to do now is to place the right side of the back fabric on the right side of the front fabric and sew or join them by about ½ inch. Okay, then after doing that, we'll now tape and then apply the yellow fabric. I'll go on to open up the back sides of this dress so that I can see what it looks like after joining. So yes, this is what it looks like after joining. So the next thing we'll be doing is to fix in or tape the neckline. Please always remember to press your seam. This is just for illustration, and then it will make your sewing and dress look neat at the end of the day. So go on to measure around your neckline as it will serve as a guide when cutting out the fabric you want to use for taping. At least you can increase it by about 2 inches or 3 just to be safe. So I went on to cut out another part of that yellow Mikado silk earlier. I made about 4.5 inches. Okay, and it is more than enough to go around. So the idea is to use the remaining one to tape the sleeve. Okay, so what you're going to do is to place it on the right side of the fabric. Do you see that I'm not placing it on the wrong side? Please watch. I'm placing it on the right side, leaving about 2 inches out of that V where the V was marked, and I'm going to sew it round on this right side. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. After doing that, I'm also going to come to this sleeve using my yellow fabric to tape the sleeve as well, but this one is a bit smaller than the last one. It's about 4 inches, and I folded the edges. Please note that you should fold and iron the edges like you see me do. I'm going to first sew it on the wrong side. I'll go again so you can see what I'm doing. For the sleeve, I'll turn it over to the wrong side and then sew it by ½ inch. Then after sewing, I'm going to give it a good press before turning it over to the right side of the fabric then top stitch at that edge. Okay, so now for the neckline, I've gone on to join this folded fabric on the right side of the fabric, and then you can see what it looks like. Remember to tape the edges as well in case you're not overlocking. Okay, so I just folded it in. Then after doing that, if you turn it over, give it a good press. This is what it should look like. You can see how beautiful it is already looking. If you want to stop at that point, it is very fine. All you need to do is to turn it over, and then you're good to go. That is the edges of that Mikado silk that you joined. Okay, so now this is my already pressed yellow fabric that I want to use for the design. All you need to do is to just measure the center point and place it on it. You can go on to design yours by folding it like so, because that's what the design I'll be going for, or you can just leave yours like that. Now for the sleeve, I went on to sew it on the wrong side of the fabric, and then I'll be turning it to the front side or the right side of the fabric, giving it a good press, and then sewing it down. Okay, I'm going to sew it all the way down. I'm going to repeat it for the two sides. Okay, I've sewn it on the wrong side. I'm going to give it a good press and then sew it on the right side. So coming back to the neckline of my fabric, to make your neckline lay without any form of bulginess or bulkiness on that side, you're going to notch the Ankara print or your African print just like so. Just give it a little notch, not the yellow fabric this time. This will allow or give room for you to turn your yellow piece with ease. Okay, so after notching, it is very easy to turn this, and then of course it will lay well because you've already notched the sides. So now, like I said, I'm going on to place my yellow piece on it. I've already folded the edges. You can go on to double yours, or just one piece is fine. Okay, so I folded the edges, and then I'm also going to use my fringe to give it another kind of design. Okay, so this is what I'll be doing with mine. Okay, but I'm going to just hold mine down with hemming gum before putting or sewing it. Okay, so I'm just showing you different ways to style yours. You can choose to fold yours on the up part, the lower part, or you can decide to leave yours straight. So this is the design I'll be going for, after which you can also style your fringe differently. You can decide to make just lines with it, or you can decide to open it up and beautify your dress the way you like. So I've gone on to use hemming gum to just hold it down. I pressed it down with it, so, and then you can see the edges are still up because I'm going to fix my fringe underneath before top stitching or before sewing it down. Okay, you can decide to use a single fringe, but I'm going to double mine so it gives it more fullness at that area. So after doing this, I'm going to sew it all the way around. After sewing it round, I'll come back to show you what it looks like. Okay, so now I have joined and top stitched my front design. You can see how beautiful it is looking. Yes, it's looking so fine. I've also top stitched the sleeve area. It's looking so beautiful. So I'm going to show you what it looks like from behind. It is so neat and fine. Yes, this is the back side. So the next thing we are going to do is to turn it over, right side facing the right side, and sew the sides using the seam allowance. You can go on to use 1 inch or half an inch, but when you're stitching, leave open the pocket point. You know, we notched it earlier for easy identification. Okay, so I'm just going to sew it down, and I've done that. The next thing I'm going to do is to apply my pocket. Yes, I'm going to apply my pocket this way, and I've done that on both sides already. And then we are almost done with this dress. See how fine it is looking already. So the final thing we are going to be doing on our dress is to hem the lower parts. Yes, after I made the lower parts, we are done with the dress. So you can see how fine this is turning out. Our pocket has been placed and it is almost good to go. So for the lower part, I left out 2 inches. So I'm going to fold down 1 inch and fold it again, and I'm going to do that all the way around. After doing that, I'll place it on my mannequin, and ta-da! This is how beautiful it looks. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.